Coming up on Network Africa, President Isaias Afwerki lauds relations between Eritrea and Ethiopia since signing a peace deal in July. South Africa's Minister for Home Affairs, MALUSI Gigaba, hits back at critics calling for his resignation. And the UK government is set to announce the recruitment of Commonwealth citizens to its army. Hello and welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Teniola Shobowale. We begin this program this week with stories and happenings that made headlines over the weekend.
Egyptian Christians buried 6 members of the same family on Saturday who were shot dead while returning from a baptism at a Coptic monastery in Egypt's Minya province. 7 Coptic Christians were killed in the attack on 2 buses the previous day. In response to the killings, the Interior Ministry said on Sunday that security forces killed 19 Islamist militants from a cell believed to be responsible for the attack. This was the latest in a series of attacks by extremists on Egypt's Coptic Christian minority. Pope Francis expressed his sorrow for the victims of the attack on the Coptic Orthodox Church, offering his condolences to the families and the community. Presidential hopefuls in the Madagascar elections held their final campaigns in the country's capital of Antananarivo on Saturday. President Harry Raja Onari Mampianina faces 2 challenges in November 7 elections, both key players in the island's past political turmoil who have promised to put that behind them and keep the economy's recovery on track. There will be 33 other candidates on the long ballot paper, but few are seen as having the influence or cash to take on the 3 established figures and capitalize on discontent over an economy that has still not fully recovered from the chaos. Though relative political stability since 2013 election has enabled Madagascar's economy to rebound, the country of 25 million people remains among Africa's poorest. About 80% of the population lives on less than $2 per day. And on Friday, Britain's Prince Charles and the Duchess of Cornwall, Camilla, arrived in Ghana on the second day of a 9-day Africa tour. They attended Jubilee House in Accra and were greeted by Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo and his wife Rebecca Akufo-Addo. Prince Charles and the Duchess of Cornwall, who were accompanied by Charles's brother Prince Edward, attended a ceremony for fallen soldiers at Osu Military Cemetery. The royal pair had visited Gambia on Thursday and will fly to Nigeria on November 6.
Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki says Eritrea and Ethiopia have built trust since signing a peace deal in July, but need to iron out further elements of their ties to make their cooperation last. The neighbors had been bitter enemies ever since a 2-year border war in which some 80,000 people were killed broke out in 1998 following disagreements over trade. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed extended an olive branch in April, shortly after his appointment, as part of a package of reforms that have reshaped the political landscape in the Horn of Africa. Since then, the countries have reopened crossing points in embassies and resumed flights between their capitals. South Africa's Home Affairs Minister MALUSI Gigaba says he will fight to the bitter end against any move to remove him after the anti-graft watchdog said he should be punished for lying on the oath. Local media reports that Mr. Gigaba faces a political battle aimed at forcing him to resign. On Wednesday, the public protector directed President Cyril Ramaphosa to punish Gigaba over remarks he made about the wealthy Oppenheimer family's attempt to open a private airport immigration facility. Mr. Gigaba denies giving any approval to the family's bid. A South African court ruled in December 2017 that he had violated the constitution. On another front, the embattled Minister Gigaba is facing flack over a leaked report on the State Energy Agency. The draft report has reportedly implicated former Minister Lynn Brown and MALUSI Gigaba, both former public affairs ministers who could face criminal investigations based on the report, along with a number of other persons and 25 companies. However, the draft report was yet to be adopted and had not been sent to those implicated for comment. Reacting to the leak today in Johannesburg, Mr. Gigaba said it is an orchestrated plan to discredit him and he will not accept it without a fight.
Unfortunately, the pattern has been vilify his name first, the narrative, create a negative narrative about him, ensure that by the time he gets to respond, you've subjected him to a kangaroo court, you've subjected him to a public lynching, you've ensured that by the time he gets to respond to the vilification, he already has been so vilified that you've created a public narrative and opinion of wrongdoing already. It's a well-orchestrated political campaign. It is unfortunate that the Portfolio Committee has thrown itself into the very same process. So I am going to consult on what to do with this, because it's quite clear that I don't think the ANC has to take this thing lightly. I am a member of the ANC in good standing. I do not deserve to be treated in this fashion. It is unfortunate, it's unjust, it's unfair. I am going to have to consult both the African National Congress in relation to how they are going to respond to this. I am going to consult my lawyers in terms of how I am going to respond to this, and I wish to leave it here for now and comment no further on this issue. I insist, it is a well-orchestrated political campaign. The Portfolio Committee has thrown its head into the campaign, it's part of the campaign, and I am going to fight it back.
Staying with South Africa, all is set for the first African Investment Forum taking place in Johannesburg from Wednesday the 7th November to the 9th. The forum, an initiative of the Africa Development Bank, hopes to bring together project sponsors, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, private investors, policymakers, private equity firms and heads of government to raise capital to advance Africa's economic transformation agenda. Speaking to Channels Television after a press conference organised by the host government today, the AIDB Director of Communications and External Affairs, Mr. Victor OLADOKUN, detailed what he thinks makes the initiative better and different from previous efforts.
What makes it different? Number one, it's not a talk shop. For way too long, for decades, we were attending investment conferences, finance conferences.